Hey, Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. And what we have this time is the Yusaku Blue #2 Gyuto 240mm knife with a Bog Oak handle. So we'll talk about the handle a little bit more. The construction of this knife is 3 layers. So you've got the harder center core cutting steel, and that is Aogami or Blue Paper #2 reactive high carbon steel. Heat treats around 62 Rockwell on that core steel. And the construction, as I mentioned, is 3 layers. So on either side of that hard core steel, you've got a soft iron reactive cladding. So this knife has reactive core and cladding. This cladding does have a Kudauchi or blacksmith protective finish or KU finish on the part of the knife that hasn't been ground down towards the edge. And then it also has a lacquer, food safe lacquer finish, which I will say, I've got the 210 of this and I've been using it for a while, and that lacquer is pretty tough. It's probably the toughest lacquer I've seen. It really is not wearing away very quickly at all, but you could strip that off with acetone if you wanted to do that right off the bat, or just let it wear away naturally. The weight and dimensions on these knives will vary a little bit because of the manner in which they're created. This particular one is 222 grams and 7.8 ounces. Some of that will depend on the handle that is on these knives. The edge length is about 237 millimeters, or 9.3 inches on this one, from the tip all the way to the back of the heel, the chin. And the overall length is about 15.9 inches. The spine thickness, these knives are fairly thick coming out of the handle, and they maintain some thickness towards the back half of the blade, but then they have a really well executed distal taper that just thins out the thickness of the spine as you get towards the tip. And they have very thin tips, so the performance of these knives is very, very good. Plus, they have some stiffness to them. They have a very confident feel on the board. So this particular one is about 3.8 millimeters at the back of the heel, and then I measured about halfway down. I measured it about 2.4 millimeters, and then you can see it just starts thinning out in about 1.5 inches or so. I measured about 1.6, maybe around right there, and then you can see it really gets skinny with the grind. So the tip works great on these. Again, I've got the 210 of this. This should be just a slightly more muscular version of that. They get thin at the edge, but you've got a fairly decent thickness in the middle, so you get good food release and food separation. Really good balanced performance on these, and a nice stiff, as I said, confident feel on the cutting board. The blade height is about 50.4 millimeters on this particular one at the back. And you can see that blade height, along with the neck not being that wide, you've got lots of clearance on the cutting board, no problems at all. The handle that they're putting on some of these knives, and he might be making some available individually as well. This is from Isaiah Schrader Knife Works, and this is a Bog Oak handle with a maple spacer and a blackwood ferrule. And you can see the ferrule has a kind of a thinning profile to it, where it has kind of scallops down in towards the neck, and it does that on all kind of these left and right sides. The top does not do that, you can see there, but it gives you a nice feel. And if you like to put your fingers on the spine and maybe have a little index there with your thumb, it gives you kind of a nice feel. It also makes the handle kind of disappear a little bit more in your hands. It's really a nice ergonomic touch on these. The handle circumference I measured right here at the ferrule kind of wood junction is about 75 millimeters, or 3 inches, around 75, 76 millimeters. The handle, Bog Oak, is not the lightest wood in the world, so that brings the balance point back a little bit on this. You know, a hoe wood handle would make the balance point quite a bit different on this, for example, but balance point is right about there. So a little bit behind a pinch grip, so pretty neutral feel, maybe slightly handle heavy, but still fairly neutral. Let's get a nice beauty shot of this guy here. These are very well crafted knives. They've got a little bit of, character to them, and they're not like super polished, but the grinds are exceptional. They're very clean grinds, very straight blades. The spine is well executed. It has just a little bit of relief on the corners. They've got some relief on the choil, the back of the blade, into the neck, and they've done that on both sides. you know, it's a file. You can see where the file marks are, so it's not super polished, but it's definitely very, very comfortable. Out of the box edge on these, a little hard to tell. As I said, that lacquer finish goes all the way down the blade to the edge, so I'm going to give them a 5 out of 10. I will say though, playing with the 210, the steel on this seems a bit exceptional. It's really, really good steel. It's just quite the steel. It feels harder than 62, so at least on the stones, and it seems to wear really well, and it takes a great edge. So I'm finding this steel to be quite something special. And at least on the 210, I don't know why this would be any different, but the steel is really one of the stars of the show here. So nice solid feel, thin at the edge and the tip, clean grinds, nice and straight blades, good craftsmanship on these. It's an excellent knife. Let's see what else. We did the balance. Let's take a look at it on the cutting board. Let me close up the handle here too. These are just beautifully crafted handles. They're super smooth, you know, all the way down. Just really nice craftsmanship. Nice tight install, glue up. Got the Isaiah Schrader logo there on the butt end of it. Just beautiful handles. So this is a really cool looking package. So here is the profile on these. So it tends to just have a kind of a shallow profile. You'll see the tip is kind of almost a spear point, so it's a fairly low tip. These don't get super high. You could probably tweak the tip a little bit on sharpening if you wanted to upsweep the last couple millimeters a little bit. But here's kind of the clearance I'm getting with it. Pretty reasonable clearance. It flows really nicely for rocking and such. Not super flat at the back, but kind of a shallow profile towards the back. Not a huge ton of flat. And every blade could be just a little bit different, but that's kind of the general profile. Really smooth. Good on kind of medium and down rocking, push-pull cuts, glide cuts, not a pure chopper, but very interesting profile. It's just a really, really nice package. You've got hand-chiseled kanji on it. A pretty smooth finish. It's a kind of a mottled finish on it. It's a little hard to tell with the lacquer on there because it smooths it out a little bit more, but just a kind of unique, nice-looking finish to it. Got some refinement to it. Hand engraved or chiseled kanji on the right side of the blade, done after everything else so you can really feel it. On the left side of the blade, you've got some embossed kanji on there. But just a really cool package. So highly, highly recommend these. So this is the Yusaku Aogami or Blue No. 2 Gyuto 240mm knife. This one with the Bog Oak handle.